Okay, right out of the gate, I'll answer the question. If you just add all the 740 plus map mods to a single game world of Project Zomboid, it will crash. I hope that's not a surprise to you. But also, that's not really the real question here. The real question is what happens when you add in all the maps that will actually work together, or how many maps can Project Zomboid hold, and how big is the map now? And I'll answer that question quickly too. Really big. This is the zoomed out view of the entire map that gets made when I finally get all the maps working. And this is the size of the vanilla map. But before we dive into the details of how to do this, or how to do this well and avoid the big problems that I came up against, let me tell you about my sponsor, which doesn't exist, so subscribe to keep it that way. Anyway, I got it into my head when one of the clowns that played in my latest tournament, his name is actually he's a great guy. He just doesn't like the maps that I choose. And so after hearing complaining about my chosen map, my initial reaction was to add in all the maps that I could find as a sort of, "Ha! How do you like that?" sort of reaction. So I looked into it. And that is a lot of maps. The first thing I did was sort out all the version 41 maps, and that brought us down to a paltry 450 mods to get through. Now, a lot of these mods are for the outdated Eris mod pack, or they're tile packs for existing maps, or just not put in the right mod folder, etc. So I had to manually comb through all the 450 plus mods to find just the ones that are actual maps that might actually work together. I subscribed to them and then had to actually load them all into a game. Consequently, don't try enabling them all at the same time as default mods that load up every time you load Project Zomboid. If you do, it will lock up Lua and never let you play the game until you uninstall Zomboid and reinstall it completely. Ask me how I know. Now, initially, I had good success loading up all the top-rated mods into the save file and launching that. And then waiting for Lua to restart. And then waiting for the world to load. Needless to say, it took a while to generate, and the save file was large. But it did load fine, if a bit janky around the edges. So I pushed onward and subscribed to all the maps. All I say. And when trying to load a new world with all of them enabled, as to be expected, the game crashed, and hung, and froze, and glitched, as you might expect. But I was not deterred. I'll do this the smart way and find out which mods are causing the problems systematically and load as many as I can. So I decided to load up a new world with all the maps from A to M and see if that would actually work. And lo and behold, the map blossomed before me. Again, still janky around the edges, but it loaded and worked. So I added those as default mods so I didn't have to add them to each successive world that I tried, and started loading new worlds, adding a couple of letters worth of mods each time until it crashed, then figuring out which mods caused it to crash and excluding them, until I had just short of 200 map mods all running at once successfully. And a side note, while I edit this, they just finished the 2022 Map Jam, so there are now well into the 200s worth of maps, but I don't want to try and get them all working in right now, so I'll let those guys polish them up a bit and get back to you if they fit well. So, with almost 200 map mods running on a single save file, what does the map look like? It's a bit of a mixed bag. The vast majority of the vanilla map is nicely filled in now, with all the major towns having expansions or suburbs or new buildings. Louis itself has some long bridges to get over the river and explore that new area over there, as well as some new beachfront property. There's a couple of cruise ships got put into the river, as well as some army installations. There's a new power plant that sticks out into the vast nothingness of southeast. Moldra has adjacent towns falling all over themselves to be next to it. And down south, the biggest addition is Erie Country and its new islands. There are new towns added in all around Rosewood and Riverside, and the woods are just festering with hunting cabins, secret bunkers, rich estates, compounds, and sprawling industry. There's a new island off the coast above Riverside and a giant mining complex in the southwest corner. As well, off to the west, there's a whole extra county got added on. But zooming out, you can see that the whole area is almost choked with new buildings. And in many places, the modders haven't added the full minimap support, so I can switch between the detailed vanilla map and the now over-modded map. And then we have this area, the blank expanse of nothingness to the south and east. I think the armored MK2 mod added all of this so they could put that back into the vehicle way out yonder so it was out of the way. But there's almost nothing down there. Oh well, lots of area to expand into. Now, let's talk about some of the problems that we encounter. You can see all over the map here that there are conflicts and artifacts and glitchy little spots, like this little spit of land out sticking into the river, or these roads that don't quite match up, or roads that just end in forest, nothing, or the side of a building, or in the very extreme, the almost entirety of Raven Creek being overwritten by this mining complex. One of the best mod maps has another mod on top of it. And somewhere, this river over here was started and then overridden. Needless to say, this is not the right way to add maps to your game. You want to add one, and then check it out. Make sure it works, make sure you like it, and then add the next one or two at a time, and make sure these things don't happen. But the real culprit here is the map makers themselves. And I'm not saying that they're bad or uncaring or to blame, but I think there are a few things that could make this more approachable. First, it would be nice if there was a central place where a map maker could go and look at an interactive map and claim a cell or two or three, and say, my mod is going here, so other map makers could take that into account. And people could go in and add the maps they want and see if there was any conflict. I know this is a big ask, but it is the ideal solution to the problem. Or make it so we can easily move maps around and slot them in if we wanted to use conflicting maps. But that's an even bigger ask, I know, I understand. So, a few more usable suggestions might be, number 2, map makers, please post where your map goes. There are lots of easily found maps of the vanilla game that you can just put a red square around your selected area and show people, this is where the map goes. Most of the top-rated maps already have this, but not all do. Number 3, Map makers, please make sure the borders of your mod mesh well with the existing terrain. There are even mods that fix the borders of other maps because the very roads don't even meet at the vanilla map. There's no excuse for this other than they didn't take the time to export their map and check it first. Number 4. Map makers, please start building out. There's a whole huge range of map to the south and east that could do with more roads and towns, and there's even room above to add maps. Maybe work out with other map makers and say, hey, I'd like to add to the east of your map. Could you please extend me a road to here and here, or maybe the tip of a lake or a river here? Communication would work wonders to give us a huge selection of maps to play on all at once. And let me say, even with all these loaded into the game ran just fine. They don't slow the game down that much once they're loaded, except while they're loading for the first time, or when you're flying down the highway like a clown. And number 5, finally, map makers, thank you so much for giving us so many maps to play on that we have problems choosing between them. Don't stop what you're doing. We really appreciate it. You're doing a great job, and though I do offer these suggestions, I do it as constructive criticism, and please take it that way. And I offer it in the hopes that somebody out there who's good at coding will be motivated to create that aforementioned site to make your jobs easier and our gameplay more rewarding. Like I said, there are even more maps out now, and I'll probably follow this up with a bunch of exploration of some of the cooler maps that I found, so don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know of any of your favorite maps in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.